Okay, we're going on lesson 3 now. Like I said in the second video, I used 2 different class periods to record these, so the characters kind of change a little bit. But we're going to pick up from the point right here. I have got, when I click the green flag, I have a start button, and then it shows my 2 main characters, and this is where at some point I will add my instructions on how to pick one of these. We're going to just choose one first because what you do with one character is going to be what you'll do on another character. So right now, I'm going to select one of these to start working. I'm going to pretend they click Dot. So I'm going to click on my sprite, Dot. Now, one of the things I said in the previous video, you're going to be doing a lot of broadcast messages that are very specific to tell other coding blocks not to do something. And I'm going to come back in the video. My class that I'm currently in, I did something in the other class that it's not showing here. I'm labeling the sprites and working with the sprites. So that is something when I'm gone, you guys need to watch, and I'll show you how it looks. All right. So I'm going to pretend my person playing is clicking Dot. I've got Dot right here. I need to have the event that says when this sprite is clicked. That is going to make everything begin with this game. The first game that we're going to code, we're going to have our sprite is going to move up and down. And we're going to have the other sprite, the second character, coming across. And this main character will be throwing something. My character Dot is going to throw a star, and I'm going to make that look kind of cool later too. So it's going to trigger when my sprite is clicked. My sprite is going to have I'm going to tell it to go to a specific location. The first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to broadcast a message. And my message is going to say Dot. Dot was clicked, or Dot was chosen. I'm being very specific because when I code that star to be thrown, if I decide to use a star for something else, I need to know who I'm coding it for. So this message, Dot was click, when Dot sends this message out, Dot is telling Ripley to hide. So that means when I receive the message, Dot was clicked, Ripley has to hide. Also, if I chose to have Ripley, if I want to make them flash, if I had any special effects, let's say when I get the start instructions and Ripley starts, let's pretend I wanted her or him, they're bald. Ripley's a pretty generic name because that was from a character in the movie Aliens, the original one, and it was a female. So, when I want my astronaut, maybe I wanted it to do this. When I receive message, see how they're changing colors? That's kind of cool. Everybody look up here. That is considered a special effect. Maybe I wanted this special effect to do this. Well, I probably won't want to do the motion, but I'm going to give you a good example. Let's also pretend when they receive the message start instructions, she's spinning. All right. So, and they're doing that. Those are special effects. You don't have to do that. Spinning might make it difficult to click. Who knows? Maybe not. If you put weight blocks in, think of that. Those are special effects. If you choose to do that, we're going to have to do something else. Now, well, 2 things. First, if you choose to do that, you're going to always want to tell the sprite to point in a 90-degree direction. Well, you can probably put it when they receive the instructions or when the green flag is. You can put the 2 motion blocks here, right here also. So you could throw in some weight blocks. But this is an example of a way to make your game yours. All right, so let's pretend I have this. I may not keep it. When I dot, and I choose dot. See how all of a sudden she hit? But look at the code. See how it's still yellow? This is important. Just because your sprite can't be seen doesn't mean the code is not running. I don't want the code running because when the code is running, she's technically still here. You see the directions moving. So when I receive dot was clicked, I'm going to hide, but I also have to, not clone, cloning will be next, is to stop other scripts on the sprite. Let me show you how this works. Click the button, see these are working. I click dot, she's gone, and the coding stops. So that's one thing about our broadcast messages. When we start switching characters, switching levels, you have to tell certain sprites to stop working. Otherwise, the computer code is competing against itself. It's trying to do everything you told it to do. It'll lock up and freeze, and that's when you have a bug in your program. It's like when apps freeze up on you and you have to like shut down your phone completely or shut down your computer. It's trying to do everything you told it to, and it can't, because sometimes that code, it'd be like me telling you walk out the door and climb out the window at the same time. You physically can't do it, right? You can choose one, but you can't do it. So that's why on a lot of these, we're going to have to say stop other scripts in the sprite. It's why we did that in our virus program when you won or you lost. So you hid the sprite so they couldn't keep getting points. The timer wouldn't keep starting. All right. So this is what happens when I click dot. So I'm going to go back to dot. We are going to keep a lot of this stuff right here when dot was clicked. We've got to tell dot where we want it to go. Now, this is going to be up to you. Since my character, you know what? I just found something right here. See that says how to play, click character? I didn't tell that sprite to hide. This sprite right here needs the same message when I receive dot click, I have to hide. Now, if you decide to add any special effects or any music on this sprite, like maybe you want it to flash, maybe you want to just flash them to death or something, I don't know. You have to do the same thing and say to stop all. Little things like that, okay? Now, let me go back and try this again. There we go. Now, we're going to program dot just to move up and down. Who remembers the vertical axis name? Yes. Why? Woohoo! 5 points. Too bad you're not like in houses. I could say 5 points to Gryffindor. 5 points to Girlfriend Corner. How's that? Actually, you're Dr. Doom Corner. But you're not my enemies. I love it. All right. So, you have to decide, how are you moving your character? WS, AD, TG, up, down, up arrow, down arrow, your choice. But what you have to choose is the event. It's got to be an event. And it's underneath the green flag. So I bring this over. It always says space bar. It's always down to that. I love the space bar for my, won't use the S word, but my T word, throwing. Because this done, it's got to have a nice space to throw fingers. You guys are used to the keys. You're going to program how you're used to playing it because it's your game. So I'm going to click on that space bar. I'm going to use the up and down arrow. I'm going to duplicate that, switch that one to down. What I want it to do, change its location on the y-axis. What's done? Why the y-axis? Why can't I just move steps? Because this makes it go that way. That's the X. I don't want to do that. I want to change, where is it? The y-axis. Please, going up. Goodbye, dot. It's almost in space. To make it go down, I have to make it negative. Because remember, it's just like math. Y is vertical. X is horizontal. We've got positive at the top of Y, negative at the bottom of Y, negative to the left, positive to the right. So if I negative going down, positive going up, you decide, do you want 10? It's like we did that last game. Or do you want it to be higher steps, How much of a change do you want them to be able to make? Test it. Well, I can't test it out till I got to go through all the steps. I really like this 20. I might start using that on mine. And I can hold it down. Woo, woo, woo. Now, here's the thing. You can decide. When I have my one project, it's going to go across the bottom. Oh, I was going to do that with dot too. Now I just remembered. Because Ripley does better up and down. Well, that's okay. I'll do my other game. Sorry, rambling right now. If you want to do different effects, Dot has some different costumes. He doesn't have any who's going up. Oh, we're not going to use that one. I don't need to see Dot like that. Cool. If you want, I would think it'd be neat if I had Dot going up and down. If you want to use a different costume effect, this is when you would do it. Change costumes. But I don't have one. I am going to come back right at the end of the game, and I'm going to show you guys how I gave him his name there. So I'm not going to really switch his costume. But if I do, I need to change the name. And right now, I'm going to actually call this Dot Facing Right. All right? Just because that's the costume he has to face. What I'm going to also do, just in case something gets weird with my program, I am going to say when he shows on the start instructions, I have Dot facing right because I'm thinking I might change something later with him. You may not. But I want to make sure he's always facing right, and I'm going to also make sure he's always pointing in a 90-degree direction. And I always want him to be at this XY location. You might say, well, Miss Dunn, I like it when my sprite is going to start here at the bottom. I want this to be my point of spawn. That's cool. On start instructions, that's here. So what you would do, you would just say, when the sprite is clicked, have him go to that location. Have him face 90 degrees. Maybe you don't want him to face 90 degrees. You want to look like he's at the ready and he's up in the air like this. Whee! You want it to be 61. That's okay. All right? And how that would work is like this. He's right there ready to go. But if you do that, he's going to look like this. He's going down. If you want him to change directions, you're going to need to create a costume that does that. And I'm going to pause in a moment. I'm going to show you guys how to do that in case you want your character to look a little bit different. All right. We're going to go with the idea Miss Dunn wants Dot to look up when he's going up, and we want him to look down when he's going down. I'm going to come to costumes. I'm going to find this one where he's straight. I'm going to duplicate it. And I am going to call this Dot. I'm going to be real simple. Dot up. And I'm going to do one that says Dot down. I know that sounds kind of goofy because I'm going to do it with the arrow keys. What I'm going to do right now is I'm going to take him and I'm going to make him 90 degrees so he's a straight. All right, now over here. I am going to use this arrow and I'm going to draw a box around him. When I get this box, I get all of this stuff like this. This is real important for any sprite because those are all individual pieces that make it. I am going to come up here where it says group and ungroup. I'm going to group it. This turns them in from all these little pieces to one piece. I am going to rotate this a little. See that? That's Dot going up. And then it's going to save. Now I'm going to come here, a Dot going down. I'm going to do it again. I'm on the arrow. I draw a big box over it. These all these tiny pieces. If you wanted to move one now, it's the time. I'm going to group it. You can also take a sprite that you group and you can ungroup it. And now I'm going to have you facing down. Whee! All right. So I created 2 new costumes in my sprite. It can be up or down, up or down. So in my code, when I do these arrows, when I do the up arrow, I'm going to have him change costume to switch costume Dot up. When he's going down, here I'm just going to duplicate this. I'm going to say costume down. So this is what it's going to look like. He's going up, he's going down. Now, if you wanted him to go up and down, you would have to do it, you'd have to have one of each. And I'll show you. I think I'm going to put a really slight weight. Before I do that, I'm going to see what happens. So, it won't work. I need to put slight weight. Do a 0.3 maybe. So it looked, oh no, that might be a little goofy. So I'm not going to do that. So I'm just going to do dot up, going up, dot down, going down. Now, if you wanted him to stand straight, we would have to, Stan's going to kind of think for a second. I'm thinking I think the easiest thing would be to point in 90 degree if you're not moving. So we have less key. So he's going up, stop. No, that won't work. Point in 90 degree won't help. This is when you want to do something in coding, you have to think about it. I kind of feel like that gets into our sensing. I'd have to tell it. I'd have to have one that says when the up key is not pressed or when it is pressed. We'd have to do a little bit fancier code. If there's someone that truly wants that, I'll work with you one-on-one. But we'd have to change our simple arrows here to moving them up and down to creating an entire if statement that if the space key is pressed, you would do all of this. I'm going to try it. If this is true, then do that. Actually, I think I need an if else. I'm going to do an experiment with this on this video to show you guys. I'm going to try it out, and I'm going to bring in the 90 degree. All right, so as a reminder, if we do an if statement, it has to be in a forever block. And I would need this to fall. I think I can still use a green flag. It's not going to be working. We're going to look at this real quick. I may see that is. No, it's not doing what. Oh, wait, not pointing 90 degree. You would have to change costumes. No. Okay, Miss Den had an idea. I'm not. Oh, gosh, it just occurred to me. I'd have to tell him to switch to costume facing right. All right. But I'm going to try something else. Because I don't want that code running when my green flag clicks. I only want this code to work when dot is pressed. Now it's lit up. Let's see how it works. Up. Oh, it actually looks like they're running. Nope, it's still not doing what I want it to do. I'd have to keep working with this, but I want you guys to get an idea when you have something in mind, think about what coding blocks you know how to use, what you might be able to change. Otherwise, I really need one that says when up key is not pressed. That might get into a little bit outside of my understanding, because I've had blocks that do that before, but I don't have one now. So for right now, I'm just going to leave it like this. Dot's either going up or going down. Well, I'm not sure what I just did now because now he's facing this way. So you never know when something like that's going to change. That actually should say 0.61. Alright, so I'm going to leave it like that. So we got Dot doing that. Alright, so what I'm going to do is a lot of the same thing I am going to do with my other character. So I'm going to come back to, let me get everybody set up. So I got this character. So I'm going to click on, I got Ripley right here. Ripley is set to, on the start instructions, she's going to spin, or he's going to spin. When Dot's clicked, it's going to do something. So what I'm going to do now, same concept. When this sprite is clicked, what's going to happen if we click on her? She's going to broadcast the message. It's the opposite of message of Dot was clicked. This new one is going to say Ripley was clicked. All right. And I have to broadcast this message to anything that is showing right here. I need to tell Dot what to do when he receives Ripley was selected. He needs to hide, and he needs to stop. Because if I decide to add some special effects to him, just like I did Ripley, I need to make sure everything in this script is stopped. I also need to come back to my playlist instructions. I'm just going to duplicate this that said Dot, and I'm going to say Ripley. Now, Ripley is spinning like a crazy person. Ripley has got to receive the message also. When sprite is clipped, or not really receive the message. Ripley broadcast message. I need to tell Ripley where I want her to go, and I need to stop this stuff. So, Miss Dunn's going to think for a moment. If I broadcast the message to tell him to stop, it's going to affect everything. I'm actually going to decide where do I want her to go. I'm going to want her down here on the bottom. I'm going to keep her at 90 degrees, not negative 30. All right. And I'm going to decide where she's going to play. So what I'm going to say, when this sprite is clipped, click broadcast message, I'm telling her where to go, my specific location. I might change it at some point. I'm going to take her up just a little. I am going to tell her to point in a 90-degree direction, and I am going to specifically tell her to go to whatever costume I want. Oh, actually, I'm going to use this one because this is going to be, I might want to use this one. I am going to change this and call it Ripley. I'm going to call it game mode. I don't know what else to call it. You think game mode is good? Game mode. So I'm going to tell her, I always call it a her, but I never thought about it. But, girls can have evolved to game mode. And then that character will be ready to code. So I'm going to test it out real quick. Start. Oh, but you know what? I still have to tell these other sprites to stop working because otherwise she's going to keep spinning. So this is something you'd have to debug. So you know what? I just had a brilliant idea. When I receive message, Ripley was click, I'm going to put all of that code right there. Let's see how that works. Oh, I forgot to say all other scripts in the sprite to stop. Let me try that. This is what we call debugging. This is what we call working through a problem. Oh my gosh. This is also something So I'm going to try this again. Stop all the scripts. All right. No, which is fine. So what I have to do when I send this message, when Sprite click, I need to send another message before I change. And I'm going to finish this real quick. I'm going to when Sprite is clicked, broadcast Ripley is clicked, and I'm going to broadcast the message Ripley game mode. This is going to tell everything else. Then I'm gonna try this. I'm not sure how this is gonna work. Let's see. Maybe working on this will work. It's not moving. All right. I've got something going on here. I got to figure out exactly how I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that on my own. If someone chooses to do this, then they can. You guys, you work on it yourself if you're doing something like this. So I'm going to problem solve this myself while you guys solve this. But if you're not making it do any special effects, you'll be fine.